Please welcome Jason Priestley.
Hi everybody.
Hello Jason, welcome to Belgium.
Thank you very much, nice to be here.
Is this your first time in Belgium?
It is actually my first time in Belgium.
But you arrived yesterday, right?
Yes.
Anything that struck you as being typical for Belgium, Belgians? Beer, chocolate, waffles?
Yes, waffles, French fries, you know, all of the above. Ghent is a very beautiful city. I really enjoyed walking around the city yesterday and taking in all the sights. It's very beautiful here.
Well, tonight you should try some of the beers. We have about 350 different beers. Don't try them all, we need you tomorrow. Now, I don't know if you know this, but in the UK, there's a famous drinking game, and that is name 3 famous Belgians. Can you name 3 famous Belgians?
No, I don't think I can.
Not even a single one?
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
That's one.
Wow, thank God. Thank God I got that one.
Are you any of a soccer fan?
No, not really.
Any of a cycling fan? No, okay.
Cycling?
Cycling, you know, bicycle
cycling, yes.
There's some very famous Belgian cyclists.
There are some very famous Belgian cyclists that I cannot pull off the top of my head right now.
If you're a musician or a music fan, the saxophone was invented by a Belgian guy, Adolf Sax. That's why it's called saxophone. And then there are some famous kings and so. I'll ask the same question tomorrow, so we can prepare for tomorrow.
Okay, good. Thanks for the heads up.
You're from Canada, right?
Yes, sir.
What would be the 3 most famous Canadians?
The 3 most famous Canadians would be William Shatner, Ryan Reynolds, and Jason Priestley.
You should have started with yourself. Now, 3 actors. You're obviously an actor. What would be for you the one perk of being an actor?
Yes, I'm an actor. In some of the projects I work on, I only work in that capacity. I also direct a lot, so I have a slightly different perspective on being an actor. The greatest perk of being an actor is the nap you can take in your trailer right after lunch. If you're really good, you can maybe get a 30-minute power nap in before everybody goes back to work. And I think that's the one thing that I miss when I'm directing on a project. There's no time to ever go to your trailer and do anything when you're the director, and that's the one thing that I miss. And so that's what I think is the greatest perk.
All right. What do you prefer, acting or directing?
Well, they're both very different jobs. They both require a very different skill set, and the focus that you have to work within is very different between those two. You know, as an actor, your focus is very finite. You just have to worry about your character and what you're doing in this scene, and you know what your overall objectives are. Whatever, you know, however deep you want to get into it. Whereas as the director, your focus has to be everything, because everything that happens on the set is your problem, and every decision that has to be made about things that are going on the set have to be made by you. So it's a very the two are very different in what they require and what the experience is.
Have you ever directed yourself as an actor?
Oh yeah, many times.
Okay. Isn't it a little schizophrenic? Like, act better, Jason. All right, Jason.
It is. It's difficult. Those days are difficult because you have to be using both sides of your brain at the same time, and it is quite an interesting experience to be. To be in a scene with somebody and having to be there and be in this and going on that emotional ride, but then you sort of have to separate yourself and sort of be an objective third party who's kind of watching the scene to see how the scene is going. And then, so those days and those scenes are are a little bit more difficult for me just because of the mental capacity that it takes.
Got you. If you wouldn't have been an actor or director, what would you have liked to become?
That's a good question. Earlier in my life, I was flirting with the idea of becoming a pilot, and then of course later in my life, I was a race car driver for a long time, so I suppose I would have gone into one of those fields if I didn't pursue the arts.
Lots of adrenaline you want. I mean,
yes, a lot of adrenaline. Yes, but I find that the entertainment business and being an actor also fulfills a lot of that adrenaline seeking, because it's there are a lot of the moments between action and cut when you don't know what's going to happen exactly. There's a certain adrenaline rush that you get from that, and certainly opening night of doing a play, like those are adrenaline rushes that you can't find anywhere else.
Now, if you get an adrenaline shot, you also need to wind down. What's your go-to routine after long days work to wind down?
That's a good question. So it's generally it's the homework that I have to do for the next day's work. Generally, when you get done on a set, whether you're a director or an actor or anything, you go home and you generally have somewhere between 1 and 3 hours of homework to do for the next day. Whether you're working on your shot list, or you're figuring out how to shoot things, or as an actor you're memorizing all the dialogue you have to perform the next day. I find that is the thing that helps me wind down.
Learning your lines and stuff like
that.
Now, you've been an actor for how many years approximately?
50.
15, yeah.
Yeah, 15. Yeah, 15. That's it. Let's go with that.
What has changed most in the acting business in those 50 years for you?
Wow. What has changed? Acting styles have changed. I mean, it's gone from, back in the 80s, 70s and 80s, everything was very performative, and now it's much more about doing less and less and less and less and less, and letting the audiences let the audience imprint their own emotional journey on what's happening with your character. So it's changed. But I also, and obviously the technology has changed, the way that we actually produce things has changed very much. But just the emotional part of being an actor, and the ways in which it's more effective to convey the emotional reality of what those characters are going through has changed as well, and it's. I think it's great because it keeps certainly, as you get older as an actor, you have to keep reinventing yourself and seeing what the trends are, and seeing how people are doing, how different people are doing it. And I think that it's definitely kept it interesting for me, because I've had to reteach myself a lot of things along the way.
Now, in all those years, you must have had quite some advice given to you. What would be the best bit of advice you've ever gotten?
Oh, that's a good question. The best bit of advice I ever got.
From a director, an actor, colleague, what have you? Something you go like, oh yeah, I'll do that.
Nothing comes to mind. I feel, well, Aaron Spelling used to say a lot of things to me and tell me a lot of things, but then he would also, just say to me, "Don't fuck this up," which was funny. I don't know. I was certainly taught by wiser, more influential people than myself. I was always taught to work very hard and to keep improving and to keep moving forward, and never spend a lot of time looking in the rearview mirror, because you need to be looking ahead and looking at what your next challenge is going to be. And I think that those kind of lessons have been good for me.
Talking about evolution, AI, is here and is going to stay. Do you consider it a blessing or a curse?
It's both. It's definitely both. I think that AI is gonna in a lot of ways work to improve our lives and make our lives easier, and but it's also got a lot of negative aspects to it as well. And the piracy and deep fakes and all that stuff is only going to get worse because of AI.
Right, now, not only are you an actor, you're obviously very famous. Fame is a strange thing. Do you love it or do you hate it?
Yes, I love it and I hate it. I think fame can be awesome, but fame, but then there are also moments when you obviously wish that maybe you weren't so famous, so that you could sort of experience things in a slightly different way. But overall, my relationship with fame has been good, because I'm happy to be able to get a good table in a restaurant when I need it.
Have you ever, just between us, have you ever abused of your fame? Like, I'm Jason Priestley, give me a table.
Don't you know who I think I am? No. I try not to ever have to lean into that.
Any strange story related to fame, like, being recognized in a place you didn't imagine it, or all of a sudden customs officers, Mr. Priestley, come in?
Well, when I was coming into Belgium yesterday, I was going through customs, and as the guy let me through, another customs agent jumped out of the back of his customs booth and said, "Mr. Priestley." And I turned around and I thought this was it. I thought they were gonna take me in the back and go through all my stuff. And he goes, "Can I get a picture with you?"
All right.
And I said, "Sure, man. Yeah, no problem." And yeah, that was interesting.
It's always easy to get quicker through.
Absolutely.
Now, can you tell us something about yourself? Anything that very few people know? A little quirk about Jason Priestley.
Something that people don't know. That's a quirk.
You like white socks, you like a glass of wine at breakfast. I don't know, something. You like a glass of wine with white socks? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I love food and I love to cook and I love all that stuff, but I think that's pretty well known.
Favorite dish?
Favorite dish to make? I like lamb. I like to cook lamb.
All right.
Yes, because I like to eat lamb.
Okay. Your father?
Yeah.
How has fatherhood changed you?
Well, fatherhood, becoming parenthood, sort of the best kept, worst kept secret in the world from me. All my friends who had kids, they would talk glowingly about their kids, but nobody ever really truly conveyed to me how awesome it is to be a parent. And it changed everything for me. My life was no longer about just satisfying myself and taking care of my own needs and my own ego-driven whatever. As soon as I had a kid, all of my focus and all of my attention and all of my energy went into that child and making sure that that child was well provided for and taken care of and safe, and it changed the way that I navigate the world, and it changed my decision-making process. It changed so much, and now that my kids are, my daughter's 17 and my son is 15. Now I can't imagine what my life was like before I had them. And actually, my wife and I were just talking about that the other day. We were like, "What did we do before we had kids?" I can't remember. And it's been the greatest experience being a parent for me.
It's a unique kind of love. You can't compare it with any other kind of love.
It really is, it's true.
Now, if you could host a dream dinner and you could invite 3 guests, dead or alive, anybody, who would you invite?
Wow. That's okay. I would invite Michael Schumacher. I would invite Howard Hughes, and I would invite someone a little more erudite. I would invite this is a good. I know. I would invite Katharine Hepburn.
All right. Very adrenaline, maybe Catherine a little less, but 2 first names are again adrenaline driven, you know, like people.
But I feel like Katharine could hang in there with
Yes.
those guys, no problem.
By the way, Audrey Hepburn, she's Belgian as well. Yes, I'm helping you for tomorrow.
Hang on to that.
Tomorrow I'm going to ask you, name me 10 famous Belgians. So, and the funny thing is, there's a video on the web where they ask people who would you invite to your dream dinner, and they all go like Obama or Ryan Reynolds, and then they ask their kids who would you invite to your dream dinner, and all the kids go like, Daddy, Mommy, and it's so confronting, you know, like for the kids, as a parent, we're their focus, but as a parent, sometimes you lose it that they are the most important people in the world. If you had to swap lives with another celebrity for 1 week, who would you choose? And just as a hint, James McAvoy, who was here, chose Taylor Swift.
Oh yeah, wow.
Yeah,
That was
you don't
pretty
need
good.
to, but I mean, any celebrity.
That's a pretty good one. Yeah, I'm gonna swap with Ryan Reynolds for a week.
Okay, because of Deadpool or?
Because who doesn't love Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah, true. Anybody loves Ryan Reynolds. If 2 final questions before it's your time, ladies and gentlemen, to shine. If you were to interview yourself, which question would you ask yourself?
I would ask myself, man, that was a surprisingly hard-hitting question. I'm not exactly sure. I would ask myself, I would ask myself, I would ask myself about my work ethic and why I still work as hard as I do.
And why do you work as hard as you do?
Well, because I just don't know another way. You know, I grew up in a really blue collar household where, you know, everybody worked all the time. Like I don't know how to do it any other way. So it's just what I do.
Okay. And imagine I have never seen Beverly Hills 90210. Pitch it to me. Sell it to me.
Okay. Elevator pitch for Beverly Hills 90210. All right. Here's the pitch. Family from Minnesota. Father gets transferred to Beverly Hills, California, to work at a big, you know, tax law firm. So the family from Minnesota moves to Beverly Hills. The kids are enrolled in Beverly Hills High School with all of the, you know, rich, famous, successful kids, and they have to from their small town in Minnesota. They have to assimilate into the fast-paced, rich, beautiful Beverly Hills lifestyle, and we're going to follow that family's journey as they try to assimilate into the world of Beverly Hills.
All right, thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's your time to shine. There are 2 microphones, one on the left, one on the right. Don't be shy. Yes, like that gentleman. Thank you so much. There's a few ground rules. 1 question per person, English only. Please articulate in the microphone. Don't ask for free hugs, kisses, or Jason's room number. I got that if you want to. And especially, Don't be shy. Jason doesn't bite, usually. Gentlemen, take it away.
Yes, hello. I have 3 short questions and 1 question, so maybe you can ask very shortly. At the top of your success, you were seen in '92 and the music video I Drove All Night with the sexy Jennifer Connelly, but with singer Roy Orbison. Can you tell something about that experience? And then in '93, you made 2 movies, Calendar Girl, a teenage movie, and Tombstone, a very successful Western film with the late Val Kilmer. Can you tell something about those 3 projects? Thank you.
Okay, the music video for I Drove All Night that I shot with Jennifer. What can I tell you about that experience? We shot that whole music video over a weekend out in the desert near Palm Springs, about an hour and a half outside of Los Angeles, and it was super fun. You know, I mean, obviously Roy had already passed away at that point in time, but his wife Barbara was out there with us, and it was directed by a guy named Peter Kerr, who was a very famous music video director at the time. Jennifer was lovely. She was super cool. I felt really fortunate to get to have that experience with her. In Tombstone, yeah, Calendar Girl and Tombstone, I actually made them one year after the other. I made Calendar Girl in '92 and it was released in '93, and I think we shot Tombstone later in '93, and it came out maybe in December of '93, but it was, you know, they were 2 very different experiences making those movies. Like, you know, Calendar Girl was a, you know, teenage road trip, you know, kind of 60s fantasy movie about these boys who go to try to meet Marilyn Monroe, and in Tombstone was a way more fact-based examination of what was happening in Tombstone, Arizona in the 1880s. So they were 2 very, you know, the one similarity that is they were both period pieces, but the films themselves are incredibly different. And I really just felt incredibly fortunate to be a part of Tombstone and the legacy that film has become. It was really, it was an amazing experience shooting that movie with all of those unbelievably talented actors, and we really had a lot of fun on that set. I learned how to play poker on that set.
Good director as well.
Okay, what's that?
A good director as well. Cosmatos, I think.
George Conway, yeah. Well, it was originally the director of the film was a guy named Kevin Jarre, who was the gentleman who wrote the script. But about a month into production, they fired him. They brought in George Cosmatos, rest his soul, and George finished the movie, but really, Kurt Russell was directing that film, and I think George was really just there to facilitate whatever Kurt wanted him to do. And you know, it's amazing the movie turned out as well as it did, given all the tumult that was on the set. It's an amazing film.
Thank you.
1 question per person. The lady on the left, please.
Hi, I've been a very big fan of yours since the 90s, and I was wondering, you've played throughout the years so many characters. Which one was your favorite and why?
Which character of all the characters I played was my favorite and why? So I did a show back in the early teens called Call Me Fitz that we shot in Canada. Some people saw Call Me Fitz. Okay, good. Well, I'm glad. It was an amazing experience. It was super fun. The show was crazy, half-hour single camera comedy. And I love playing Richard Fitzpatrick. He was not a likable character, but he was not. I just tried to make all of his shortcomings. I just had to attach them to childhood trauma that he went through, and that made everything he did magically okay. And so I found it was really liberating and really fun to play that character, and we had such a great time making that show too. We shot it for 4 years. There's 48 glorious episodes of it around places. I'm sure you can see it if you haven't, but that show, playing that character on that show was I think my favorite.
Lady on the right.
Hi. Last year my mom got me into Beverly Hills 90210, and I really loved the show, and I was wondering what was your favorite storyline throughout all the 10 seasons? I know it's a lot.
There was a lot of them. Which one was my favorite storyline? Wow. There are certain episodes that stand out for me more than entire storylines. Like, and they tend to be the episodes where we did things outside the norm. We weren't just in the Peach Pit, and we weren't just in the college quad, and we weren't just in the high school hallways. We actually were doing other things, like the camping episode. Where everybody went camping and it rained, and that whole thing. And the '60s episode that I directed. There was all, Brandon found a diary in Brenda's bedroom, I think, in the window seat, and then he was reading the diary, and it inserted all of the characters and all the people he was hanging out with back into that time, and that episode was super fun. Just, it was so different. I loved, there was an episode where Dylan and Brandon went on a motorcycle road trip and met a bunch of Native American guys and ended up in a sweat lodge, and just those kind of things really stand out to me.
Thank you. Hi Jason, welcome to Europe.
Thank you.
I have a question about Brandon Walsh. Have you ever identified with him, and if yes, on what? And when are you coming back to Europe?
I certainly identified with Brandon. I identified with him. Brandon was a super honest, forthright individual, and I feel like I embody both of those things as well. And I think the care and the attention that Brandon always carried for all of his friends. I've always aspired to be that kind of friend myself. So I definitely related to him on all those levels. And I'm not sure when I'm coming back to Europe, but you'll be the first to know.
Hi Jason, I would like to know, how did you experience as a person, as an actor, that period of Beverly Hills? And which were the persons that you say, okay, we really had a good band, we really had a good brotherhood, and that you still see today? So that's the question.
Okay, what's the question? Is there a question in there?
How did you experience the period of Beverly Hills as a person, as an actor? Was it fun? Was it not always fun?
The experience. I'm sorry, I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Yes, the experience of shooting the show was, it was, for the most part, it was super fun. We were all a group of young actors in our late teens or mid 20s, and we were having a great time. It was a fun show to work on, and what made it fun were all of the people. And we worked together for so long. We became incredibly close. Not only all of us cast members, but we're incredibly close with our crew, because we worked with these people for years and years and years. In that way, because of the longevity of the show, it became something else. Because we did all become like one big 100-person family. It was it was the first time I'd ever been on a show for that long, and the first time I'd ever been through that kind of experience, and it was really cool. It was a great thing, a wonderful thing to be a part of.
Thank you.
Hi Jason.
Hey.
Hi again. You started directing the show, I think, correct me if I'm not wrong, after season 5.
Season 3.
Season 3 was,
Yeah, right at
okay.
the end of season 3 was
Okay,
my first
okay.
one, yeah.
Your character changed a little bit and to lead to disappear at season 8, 9, correct?
Season 9, yeah.
What was the reason? Why you didn't end up the show with the other?
You know what, I'm glad you're asking me that question. You know, at the time when I made the decision to leave the show, what was it, 4 or 5 episodes into the 9th season, the reason I made that decision was because I couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I kept saying to Aaron Spelling, hey Aaron, when are we gonna wrap this thing up? Like, you know, like we've been here, you know, at that point in time it was 8 years. Like we've been here 8 years, the show is still super popular. Let's end it while the show is still super popular. Let's not just ride this thing into the ground and watch the ratings collapse as we, you know, wait to not get picked up with 1 year. Let's end it while we're still on top. And Aaron wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it. And so finally, I was like, look, Aaron, I gotta go. Like I got other stuff that I want to go do. And so I left. And knowing that the show only went on for another season and a half, I would have stayed. So you know, I really just made the decision because I just couldn't see the end. You know what I mean?
Appreciate it, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, man.
I have no idea what this man is a fan of, but he's got a question.
Hi Jason, big fan of your work indeed.
Thank you, sir.
Would you like to share with us a fun fact about a scene you shot in 90210, a scene where you didn't stop laughing and preventing you to do the scene?
The scene where I can't stop laughing?
Was there a scene where you couldn't stop laughing?
Oh, was there a scene? There were, no, not one that I could never, recover from. We were, there are times on film sets where everybody gets so tired because you work for such long hours that sometimes, people go into laughing fits of hysteria because you're so tired, right? And all of a sudden a line sounds super funny to you, and you realize it for the first time, like you're just hearing it. And I don't remember any specific times when that became a difficulty. I can guarantee you though that Ian Ziering was probably on set when those moments happened. Ian definitely worked very hard to try to make everybody laugh and laugh at the wrong times.
All right, 2 final questions. One from the left. No, one final question. Go ahead.
Great, final question. Hi, Jason.
Hey, man.
Thank you for coming to Europe.
Thank you.
Please convince Jenny, Tori, and Ryan to also do that in the future. Hoping.
I'll give them the hard sell on this con when I get home.
I really love 90210. I love Love and Death on Long Island. I think I've seen all of the work you've done. Is there a series or movie that you really love and that you've rewatched or that you would have loved to be in?
Wow, that's tough. So there have been many series that I've fallen in love with and watched multiple times and really love them. One was a show they shot in Baltimore back in the 90s called Homicide, a Tom Fontana show, and I actually got to be in one of the episodes. I was such a big fan of the show, so that was super cool for me. But I would, if we go back in time and I could be on Breaking Bad, that would have been everything for me.
Yes,
I love that show.
I think you would have been great. But you're great in everything. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have time for. Give it up for Jason!
Thank you, guys.